Hi folks, it's Caroline here, and it's the quiz for Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day, everybody. Now, before I start the quiz, I just wanted to say something because this isn't a day that is very easy for quite a few people, and I didn't want to forget about those people. There are many mothers who have lost babies. Sometimes in pregnancy, sometimes shortly after birth, and it's a terrible, terrible loss, and it remains a loss throughout people's lives. And then, of course, there are the people who have lost children, and this goes right up to adult children, of course. They say it's the worst loss that you can have in your life, to lose a child. And I don't know, but I can imagine that would be so. I know people who have lost children, and it is the most dreadful, terrible thing that's happened in their lives. And also thinking in particular about the family of Sarah Everard, you know, what her parents must be feeling today. It's beyond imagining how terrible it must be. I also, just before I started this, looked on Facebook, and there was a post from a group I belong to, Remembering Srebrenica, and it was talking about the mothers of people who were killed at Srebrenica and how they've campaigned for that crime to be recognised and to be made public. And again, this must be a sad day for them. Although Mothering Sunday is, of course, a tradition associated with Britain, really. It's part of the church year. It's different from Women's Day, and other countries do have different Mother's Day dates. I'd also like to think about the women who would have loved to have children but couldn't for some reason, or or other. Maybe never was the right time, never met the right person, or maybe just physically it wasn't possible. And again, this is a bittersweet day for people in that position. And finally, a position that many, many people, including myself, are in, to think about all those people whose mother is no longer with them. My mother died in 2000, so it's now been nearly 21 years since she died. And there's still a gap there. There's still sometimes things that remind you of your mother. They hit you like a blow to the stomach, and you remember. I think what I miss the most is looking at being a mother from my own experience, not being able to talk with her about it and share experiences as much as I would have liked to. And so for all of those who don't have a mother on this earth anymore, or who may be estranged from their mothers, again, this is a difficult day. So thinking of everybody, and this quiz is not meant to be too sad. It's a bit of fun, and so I hope you enjoy it. It goes by the normal routine. I read out the questions, you answer them, and then I read out the answers. Okay, everybody, right, here goes. Right. The first round is famous people and their mothers. Okay. Question 1. Romesh Ranganathan has worked with his mother on which TV shows? So Romesh Ranganathan has worked with his mother on which TV shows? And her name is Shanti, by the way. Now, they've worked together on several TV shows. You get a point for every one you mention. And there might even be ones that you know of that I don't. So just put anything down, basically. Right, question 2. Which Strictly Come Dancing contestant is the mother to 2 highly ranked tennis stars. So which Strictly Come Dancing contestant is the mother to two highly ranked tennis stars? Okay. And then question 3. Blue Peter presenter Janet Ellis is mother to a singer-songwriter who has been holding a Friday disco in her kitchen online with her children joining in. So who is that singer-songwriter that is the child of Janet Ellis? And question 4. Eve Pollard, the newspaper editor, has an extremely famous daughter who is a TV presenter, and she actually works on Strictly. Who is she? So Eve Pollard, the newspaper editor, I think she's retired now actually. She has an extremely famous daughter, a TV presenter who works on Strictly Come Dancing. Who is she? And then question 5 on this famous people and their mums. Which famous woman and campaigner left her 2 sons grieving when she died, although nowadays they don't get on? So which famous woman and campaigner left her 2 sons grieving when she died, although nowadays they don't get on? Okay, and that's the end of the first round. And thank you, Effie. That's very kind of you. Right, now then, motherhood in literature, the next round. Okay, so I'm going to read out some passages from pieces of literature and give you a choice of answers, and it's up to you to who you choose, what you choose. Right, the first quote, here goes. The clocks were striking midnight and the rooms were very still as a figure glided quietly from bed to bed, smoothing a coverlet here, settling a pillow there, and pausing to look long and tenderly at each unconscious face, to kiss each with lips that mutely blessed, and to pray the fervent prayers which only mothers utter. Okay, so that rather touching quote comes from A. Charles Dickens, Christmas Carol, B. Louisa May Alcott, Little Women, or C. George Eliot, Middlemarch. Okay, A. Charles Dickens, Christmas Carol, B. Louisa May Alcott, Little Women, or C. George Eliot, Middlemarch. Okay, quote number 2. She was the stuff of which great men's mothers are made. She was indispensable to high generation, hated at tea parties, feared in shops, and loved at crises. Was that A. Thomas Hardy in Far From the Madding Crowd, B. P.G. Wodehouse in The Code of the Woosters, C. Elizabeth Gaskell, Cranford? Okay, so which one of those was it? A. Thomas Hardy in Far From the Madding Crowd, B. P.G. Wodehouse in The Code of the Woosters, or C. Elizabeth Gaskell in Cranford? Okay, question 3. All women become like their mothers. That is their tragedy. No man does. That is his. And was that said by A. George Bernard Shaw in Pygmalion, B. Oscar Wilde in The Importance of Being Earnest, or C. Alan Ayckbourn in Bedroom Farce? So was that A. George Bernard Shaw in Pygmalion, B. Oscar Wilde in The Importance of Being Earnest, or C. Alan Ayckbourn in Bedroom Farce? Right, quote number 4. For whom will a woman lie? Sometimes for herself, usually for the man she loves, always for her children. Okay, and the choices of answer you have are A. The Tiger in the Smoke by Marjorie Allingham, B. The Dead of Jericho by Colin Dexter, or C. Murder on the Links by Agatha Christie. So that's A. Marjorie Allingham with The Tiger in the Smoke, B. Colin Dexter with The Dead of Jericho, or C. Agatha Christie with Murder on the Links. Okay. Right, the last quote. Here we goes. Your mother died to save you. If there's one thing that Voldemort cannot understand, it is love. He didn't realise that love as powerful as your mother's for you leaves its own mark. Not a scar, not a visible sign. To have been loved so deeply, even though the person who loved us is gone, will give us some protection forever. Okay? And the possible answers for this one is A, J.K. Rowling in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. B, C.S. Lewis, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. And C, Robert Galbraith, The Cuckoo's Calling. So it's A, J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. B, C.S. Lewis, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. B, C.S. Lewis, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. Or C, Robert Galbraith, The Cuckoo's Calling. And now we get to my favourite bit of the quiz, which is the music bit. And sometimes it's very easy to find songs, and I found a good few for this subject. These are all songs connected with mothers. Okay then, so we'll go for number one. Let me just put the sound up. Would help, wouldn't it? Okay, then there we go. Number one. And remember, it's 1 point for the song and 1 point for the artist. Come on now. I think you'll get that. Okay. Number two. Okay, and now number three. Okay, that was number three. And now number four. That was my Claire's favourite band when she was about 6. Okay, and number 5. Come on, number 5. Come on, number 5. No, I don't want you. Oh, this is the trouble with Spotify. Sometimes it won't do what I want it to. Come on now. Let me just refresh it. Sorry about this, folks. Here we go. Well, here we go. Right, well, a little bit of a hiccup there, but nothing too bad. Okay, so that was the music round, and we'll get back to that when we do the answers. Let's hope I can get back to that all right. Right, now then, 2 more rounds to go before the end of the quiz. And the next round is general knowledge around being a mum. Okay? Question 1. How many weeks does the average human pregnancy last? It's A, 102 weeks, B, 40 weeks, or C, 32 weeks. So that's A, 102 weeks, B, 40 weeks, or C, 32 weeks. Question 2. Why is a caesarean section called by that name? A, it comes from the Latin word caedare, which means to cut. Or B, it refers to a portion of a Caesar salad on a plate. Or C, Julius Caesar was the first person born by that method. So, caesarean section's called that because A, it comes from the Latin word caedare, which means to cut. B, it refers to a portion of Caesar salad on a plate. Or C, Julius Caesar was the first person born by that message. Right, by that method, not message. Right, question 3. When you first drop your child off at school or nursery or childminder, you typically feel as you walk away, A, totally miserable, you'll miss them so much. B, exultant, freedom at last. Or C, a weird feeling that you might have forgotten something. So A, totally miserable, you'll miss them so much. B, exultant, freedom at last. Or C, a weird feeling that you might have forgotten something. Okay. Question 4 in the general knowledge. According to the United Nations, adolescence typically starts A, when a girl gets her first period and a boy's voice breaks. B, around 10 and goes on to 19. Or C, once they get their first phone. So it's A, when a girl gets her first period and a boy's voice breaks. Or B, around 10 and goes on to about 19. Or C, once they get their first phone. Okay. And then question 5 on the general knowledge. What is a sleepover? A, the first time a baby sleeps through the night. B, when children's friends come and sleep at their house. Or C, nothing to do with sleep at all, a nightmare social event. Too much Coke and Haribo, hundreds of visits to the loo, and no sleep for anyone in the house. So that's A, the first time a baby sleeps through the night. B, when children's friends come and sleep at their house. Or C, nothing to do with sleep at all, a nightmare social event when nobody sleeps. Okay, and now we get on to our last round. And this is sayings, and each saying will have one word missed out. And you get 1 point for the saying, for that word that's missed out, and 1 point for the person who said it. And I'll give you the initials of that person's, of the person that said it. So the first saying is, if love is as sweet as a flower, then my mother is that sweet flower of blank. If love is as sweet as a flower, then my mother is that sweet flower of blank. And the person that said that is SW. SW. Okay. Question number 2. My mom is definitely my blank. My mom is definitely my blank. And that is AK. Who said that? Okay. Question 3. All I am, I blank to my mother. All I am, I blank to my mother. And the person that said that is GW. GW. Okay. Question 4. A mother's arms are more blank than anyone else's. A mother's arms are more blank than anyone else's. And the initials of the person that said that are D. D. Okay. Question 5. My mother's love has always been a sustaining force for our family, and one of my greatest joys is seeing her integrity, her compassion, her intelligence reflected in my blank. And I'll read it again. My mother's love has always been a sustaining force for our family, and one of my greatest joys is seeing her integrity, her compassion, her intelligence reflected in my blank. And the initials of the person that said that are M.O. M.O. Okay? Right, now then, we go back now for our answers about famous people and their mothers. So get all your answers ready, and we'll start on the first round, which was famous people and their mums. And the first question was, Romesh Ranganathan has worked with his mother on which TV shows? His mother is Shanti, by the way. Now, the ones I've found are Judge Romesh, The Ranganation, and Asian Provocateur. And the edition of Asian Provocateur is Mum's American Dream. Now, you may well know of others. So basically, if you've known one and you've put it down and you're pretty sure of what it is, then just give yourself a point. In fact, give yourself a point for whatever you've put down, because that couple do an awful lot. Okay, right. Number 2. Which Strictly Come Dancing contestant is the mother to 2 highly ranked tennis stars? That is Judy Murray. And she is the mother to Jamie Murray and Sir Andy Murray. So you can give yourselves a point if you've got them as well. Judy Murray. Right, question 3. Blue Peter presenter, well, that's in the old days, so I should perhaps have said ex-Blue Peter presenter, Janet Ellis, is mother to a singer-songwriter who's been holding a Friday night disco in her kitchen online with her children. Who is it? And the answer to that is Sophie Ellis Bextor. Sophie Ellis Bextor. I don't know if she's still doing it. I imagine she is. Just quite fun to watch her singing and dancing around her kitchen with the kind of mirror lights going and everything. Right, question 4. Eve Pollard, the newspaper editor, has an extremely famous daughter who is a TV presenter who works on Strictly Come Dancing. And who was she? She was Claudia, or is Claudia Winkleman. Claudia Winkleman. Okay. And then the last question in this round. Which famous woman and campaigner left her 2 sons grieving at her death, although nowadays they don't get on? Well, that, of course, was Princess Diana. And the 2 sons were Princes William and Harry. So you can give yourself a point for each of those if you got them. That's very sad, isn't it? I mean, family upsets, very sad. Okay, motherhood in literature. And there's some lovely bits in this. I've really enjoyed doing this quiz because there's some lovely, lovely quotes. The first one. The clocks were striking midnight and the rooms were very still as a figure glided quietly from bed to bed, smoothing a coverlet here, settling a pillow there, and pausing to look long and tenderly at each unconscious face, to kiss each with lips that mutely blessed, and to pray the fervent prayers which only mothers utter. And the possible answers were A, Charles Dickens, A Christmas Carol, B, Louisa May Alcott, Little Women, and C, George Eliot, Middlemarch. And the answer was Louisa May Alcott, Little Women. Louisa May Alcott, Little Women. Okay. Right, number 2. She was the stuff of which great men's mothers are made. She was indispensable to high generation, hated at tea parties, feared in shops, and loved at crises. And the options were A, Thomas Hardy for Far From the Madding Crowd, B, P.G. Wodehouse for The Code of the Woosters, and C, Elizabeth Gaskell, Cranford. And this actually was Thomas Hardy, Far From the Madding Crowd. I was quite surprised about that. I thought it would have been someone like Wooster, because there's a lot of humour in there. But no, it's Thomas Hardy, Far From the Madding Crowd. Okay. Question 3. All women become like their mothers. That is their tragedy. No man does. That is his. And the possible options were A, George Bernard Shaw, Pygmalion, B, Oscar Wilde, The Importance of Being Earnest, or C, Alan Ayckbourn, Bedroom Farce. And the answer was Oscar Wilde in that wonderful play, The Importance of Being Earnest. Yeah, and I'm just thinking, hopefully soon, please, there'll be live theatre and there'll be kind of frothy stuff like that you can go and watch and eat ice creams and drink wine at the interval. Wouldn't that be great? Okay. Now, number 4. For whom will a woman lie? Sometimes for herself, usually for the man she loves, always for her children. Right, now that quote either came from A, Marjorie Allingham, The Tiger and the Smoke, B, Colin Dexter, The Dead of Jericho. You might see I've got a little friend coming along here. And C, Agatha Christie, Murder on the Links. And the answer is C, Agatha Christie, Murder on the Links. And that's very interesting, isn't it? And that quote from Agatha Christie. You don't tend to think that she might say something that profound, but she did. Right, now then, quote number 5. Your mother died to save you. If there's one thing Voldemort cannot understand, it is love. He didn't realise that love, as powerful as your mother's for you, leaves its own mark, not a scar, no visible sign. To have been loved so deeply, even though the person who loved us is gone, will give us some protection forever. And the options for there were A, J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, B, C.S. Lewis, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, or C, Robert Galbraith, The Cuckoo's Calling. And that, of course, was A, J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And you might not know, or you might know, that she also is Robert Galbraith, who wrote The Cuckoo's Calling. There's a whole lot of detective stories that she wrote under the name of Robert Galbraith. And now, how am I going to manage my friend and my music? Let's put it on top of him. Right, and see if I can get this to go. Right. Right, okie dokie. Just getting into it again, I hope. No. Come on. It's a bit difficult when one's balancing it on a cat, one has to say. Yes. Right, okay. I've got it. Let's just hope it works. Okay, number 1. Okay. That, of course, was Mamma Mia, ABBA. Lovely. Right, now then, number 2. And that one was Mother and Child Reunion by Paul Simon. Okay, so for those oldies amongst us who might remember it. And then another... That's the trouble with my music rounds. A lot of them are for oldies, aren't they? Right, come on. And that's Mama Told Me Not to Come, and it's by Three Dog Night. Okay, Mama Told Me Not to Come by Three Dog Night. And now we have number 4. La 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 la. That, of course, is the Spice Girls and Mama, Mama We Love You. Okay, and then number 5. Is this gonna let me do it or not? Right. Okay then, come on, number 5. Come on. Right, and that was number 5, and that was Mama Said, and it was by the Shirelles. Okay, so that is being done without too much trouble, thank goodness. Okay then, right, yes, you were very good. Right, now general knowledge. And this general knowledge is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, you might have guessed. Right, some of it, not all of it. Number 1, how many weeks does the average human pregnancy last? A, 102, well, it feels like that sometimes. B, 40, or C, 32. And the answer, of course, is B, 40. The average human pregnancy lasts 40 weeks. Of course, there are some poor women that go on for 42 or 43, and there are equally others who kind of come at 35, 36, 30, you know, but the average is 40 weeks. Question 2. Why is a caesarean section called by that name? A, it comes from the Latin word caedare, to cut. B, it refers to a portion of Caesar salad on a plate. Or C, Julius Caesar was the first person born by that method. Dear me. Right. It is called a caesarean section because it actually comes from the Latin word cadare, which means to cut. There are stories that Julius Caesar was born by that method, but the actual derivation of the expression comes from the Latin word cadare. Okay. Right. Question 3. When you first drop your child off at school or nursery or childminder, you typically feel as you walk away, A, totally miserable, you'll miss them so much. B, exultant, freedom at last. Or C, a weird feeling that you might have forgotten something. Well, give yourself a mark, whatever you said on that one, because basically I think we feel all three emotions. Sometimes it's intense misery when you drop a young child off. But then as you walk away and you're kind of, your heart stops pounding, you start to think, whew, whew. But then you also get that odd feeling when you're walking away, oh, shouldn't I have brought something with me? So give yourself a point, whatever you said on that, because all three answers are right. Okay, question 4. According to the United Nations, adolescence typically starts A, when a girl gets her first period or a boy's voice breaks, B, at around 10 and goes on to 19, or C, once they get their first phone. And, of course, it is B, around 10 and goes on to 19. So for those of you with 9-year-old children, you've got some lovely years to look forward to. Really, really great. And I envy you desperately. Okay, question 5. What is a sleepover? A, the first time a baby sleeps through the night. B, when children's friends come and sleep at their house. Or C, nothing to do with sleep, a nightmare social event, Coke, Haribo, hundreds of visits to the loo, and no sleep for anyone in the house. Now, from my experience, C is the correct answer. It is horrendous having a sleepover, and sleep is the last thing that happens at a sleepover. However, you may have better disciplined children than I had. You may have a wonderfully quiet child who has the best friend over, and they go to sleep at 9 o'clock and wake up bright-eyed and bushy-tailed at 7:30 the next morning. In which case, give yourself a point if you said B. But think about it. Think about it very carefully before you give yourself a point. Was this what actually happened? Okay, last round. Sayings, so missing words in a saying and also the person who said them. The first one is, if love is as sweet as a flower, then my mother is that sweet flower of love. Love is the word. And SW who said it was Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder, okay? Right, now then, saying number 2. My mom is definitely my rock. Rock is the answer. And the person who said it, AK, is Alicia Keys. Okay, Alicia Keys. Question 3. All I am, I blank to my mother. I owe to my mother. And that was GW who said that, and it was George Washington. So if it wasn't for George Washington's mother, well, maybe we wouldn't have the United States of America. You never know. Right. Question 4. A mother's arms are more comfortable than anyone else's. Comfortable is the answer. And the person that said that was D, and that was Princess Diana. I didn't want to put PD because that might make you think that that was a name, and Princess, of course, was her title. So I just put Diana. Okay. And then the last question in this quiz. My mother's love has always been a sustaining force for our family, and one of my greatest joys is seeing her integrity, her compassion, her intelligence reflected in my daughters. And the person who said that, M.O., was Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama. So that's the end of our quiz. And Vivi can say goodbye for now. I'd just like to say I hope everybody has a lovely Mother's Day. And for those of you who can't see children because they're in another place or maybe have lost children, for those of you that don't have a mother to send a card to, for those of you who are struggling with grief about loss, I hope that you have a reasonable day, and remember that the meaning of Mother's Day is love, and I hope that you feel some love today. Okay, bye-bye everybody. Take care. Oh, don't forget, I'm doing another quiz on St. Pat's Day. So, yeah, I know, it's just crazy at the moment. But there'll be another quiz coming along next week. Okay, bye-bye for now, everybody. Love you all.